Greetings and hello. Kaiser Philip V here today, and I want to talk to you about a theory I've had about Kim Davis for a while now. If you don't know who Kim Davis is, well, what rock have you been living under? And what I want to talk about specifically is a theory I have about her. I think Kim Davis is a provocateur. Yes, you heard me right. I think that Kim Davis is a provocateur. I don't think she's sincere in her opinions. I don't think, if she is, she's planted there for a reason. I don't think that any of this is accidental. I don't think the media coverage is accidental. I don't think any of this is accidental at all, okay? Now, I'm going to be going off what I can glean from official reports, from local news outlets, from local news outlets in Kentucky, in the area, which I believe is Rowan. I have my notes here. Yep, Rowan County, Kentucky. I've been going off what I can find from there, and I've been going off of news sources specifically in Kentucky because I figured they would have the best view of the situation. And I've been looking into this, and there's some things that don't make sense. Now, let me get out of the way what I think of, like, let's say she was totally sincere. What do I think about her stance? I think it's a losing battle because Kim Davis is an agent of the state, okay? There is no getting around that. Kim Davis, as an agent of the state, is obliged to do what the state asks. If she cannot do what the state asks, then she must refuse to comply and, do something else. She must refuse to comply and act in accordance with her conscience. Now, you may say, well, that's what people say she's done. I think she could have done this much more responsibly. I think she could have resigned officially. She's an elected official. It's not a hired position. Which is why she apparently cannot be simply fired, although I dispute some of that. She cannot apparently simply be fired. She has to be impeached by the House of Representatives of the state of Kentucky. She could have resigned. She could have said, I can no longer fulfill the duties of my office in light of the Obergefell-Hodges ruling, and I am going to step down. That would have been the easiest, most responsible thing for her to do, was to resign and let someone else take the post. I mean, people have said that, I'm wrong for saying she should comply with the state's ruling or not do her job. Well, how is that any different from what she's doing now, except the alternative I would propose is much less dramatic and sounds much less like her trying to get attention, because I know many people, among the Orthodox clergy, who have revoked their agency as marriage, being able to issue marriage licenses and officiate state marriages to avoid the complications that could potentially arise from, say, being forced to officiate a same-sex marriage. And I think that's a responsible course of action to take. Historically, people say that, she should stand her ground, she should keep her job, and I'm like, why? She's not willing to do the state's bidding or its authority, so why does she not simply quit? And I'm sure someone will bring up the example of someone like St. Maurice, who refused to do the emperor's bidding and was beheaded for it. Well, St. Maurice, was in military service in a combat theater and refused to do obeisance to the emperor as a god, and he suffered the immediate consequences forthwith. This was not something that he knew was going to happen eventually. For all he knew, this was an occasion that would never come to pass. It was much the same with a lot of warrior saints. They didn't know this would happen. They did their service to the empire and thought that nothing bad would come of it. That perhaps they could do their service and do their time and be done. And a lot of this, to me, seems like people just want to be martyrs. They want to be known for something. They want to be important. And I'm like, that's not always how it's going to be, especially for Christians. Like, I understand the point she's trying to make, what she's trying to do, assuming she's being sincere, but honestly, I think she's being irresponsible about the whole thing. You could easily quit your job, and she could easily quit her job. She could resign and find something else to do with her life. How hard is that? People say, oh, well, how can you just say she should just quit her job? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. American Christians are upset. Their religion is something they should follow to the letter until it involves their money. I forgot that American Christianity has been so corrupted by, capitalist, wealth, capitalist theology, from people like, who's that televangelist? Joel Osteen, that or money equals good. So if you have a lot of money, God loves you. I forgot that thinking has infected American Protestantism. And this woman is a Protestant, by the way. She's apostolic. So I don't understand why Catholics particularly want to defend this woman, because I don't really have anything personal against apostolics or Pentecostals. I'm sure I know several of them are friends of mine, and I've never had issues with them ever. But I know for a fact that Pentecostal charismatic churches tend to be very anti-Catholic, and I've experienced it myself. I've seen it myself. The school that I went to was Church of God, which is basically apostolic. Um, a lighter form of apostolic, Christianity, and they were very anti-Catholic. They had anti-Catholic speakers all the time. So I don't understand why you want to side with a woman who probably doesn't like our religion to begin with. And if she didn't like the religion, I'm sure she won't tell you now because TFP held a bloody rally for her, which I don't understand why. She's a Protestant, and she probably hates everything about what we actually believe and would not agree with it in any way, shape, or form until now when we're giving her money and physical support. And you have even crazy Christian militias saying they're going to violently impede any attempt to arrest this woman. This is madness, okay? This is stupid. It's moronic. Whatever you think about the United States of America, okay? We have to accept the historic fact this is not a Christian nation. It was never founded or intended to be as such. Christianity was important to it because the basically philosophers who created this nation, they had a form of Christian deism in their philosophy, kind of like nature's God sort of thing, that influenced how they looked at things. And the fact of the matter is that their actual piety among their own religious, adherents was probably great, but for Catholics, it amounts to nothing. It amounts to smoke and mirrors. It no more represents piety, in a positive. It no more validates their religious beliefs than, a jihadist's sincere conviction in Islam validates his religion. It doesn't. I mean, it's just their convictions and their beliefs. And that's kind of how I look at this, is that why are we wasting our time on this woman? And, what got me to get more on the point, what got me thinking that Kim Davis could be a provocateur in the first place? Well, reason number one, Kim Davis, I heard a phrase once that somebody tell me something once, I was on a message board or something, and somebody said that Democrats, and it was around the time of the Boston bombing, Democrats or liberals are looking for the perfect white man. And what they meant by that, they clarified, was that they're looking for a white, conservative, Republican / Tea Party Christian terrorist, or an organization to that bent, that they can hold up as definitive proof, vote Democrat because you don't want these crazy people in charge. They want that indefensible, domestic terrorist who they can hold up as a reason why, that conservatives should not be trusted. Dylan Roof could have been that, but Dylan Roof was too fringe to be the representative of, the white conservatism, because most white conservatives, to their credit, are not racist. At least the vast majority of them. They may unknowingly be insensitive to Black America and its struggles, but, real or not, but I don't think they're the kind of virulent racists that some Democrats would like them to be, so they can keep riding the black vote. And they were really looking for this in the gay marriage fight. They wanted some serial killer who was Christian and conservative, almost like a Law and Order antagonist type person, who would go around and violently murder gay people. That's what they wanted. Somebody they could hold up and say anti-gay bigotry is real, and that's why we should legalize gay marriage. That's what they wanted, but they never got it. It never came through. There was never anybody who was mainstream enough. There was never anybody who was perfect enough who they could hold up and say, this is why you should vote liberal. This is why conservatism should be basically illegal. They never got that. And I've always said that even if one comes up, it may be a provocateur. It may not be a real thing, because it wouldn't be the first time liberals have used provocateurs. The first regime to really use provocateurs extensively was the Napoleonic regime, which made extensive use of them to justify their invasions into Germany and Eastern Europe. They would, independent Republican cells would arise or whatever, and they would revolt against their, they would be nationalists who would revolt against their monarchs, and Napoleon would just happen to be, marching through and would help them. And it wouldn't be the first time that liberals of any kind used provocateurs. It wouldn't be the first time in Western history that it's been done. It's been done loads of times. Um, so I don't think it's beyond, especially in U.S. politics, I don't think it's beyond a doubt or beyond a stretch that Kim Davis could be a paid provocateur of some kind. Maybe it's not even so much that there's a conspiracy that she's even in on. She's just a pawn in this whole game who got there, because they kind of calculated she would do something like this at some point and they could capitalize on it. Maybe they were hoping it would happen. She would do something at some point back during when the ruling was before the Supreme Court, but she never did. Either way, I think there are people pulling the strings on this whole thing. And here's some of my reasons why. Number one, Kim Davis is a Democrat. Okay? She has been a Democrat. She ran for the office of county clerk. She ran for the office of the clerk of Rowan County on the Democratic ticket. She's a registered member of the Democratic Party. Now, people pointed out to me she could be a yellow dog Democrat, which means she votes Democrat no matter what. She could be a blue dog Democrat. She'll vote Democrat for whatever. But she rode in on the Democratic ticket in the state of Kentucky to become the clerk of Rowan County. Now, she ran on this ticket not on a religious platform, but off of her own experience in the office and in the business and, in this kind of thing. So it just seems odd to me that you could be a Democrat all this time and, when they're so pro-gay marriage and things, and be so anti-gay marriage, when they are so anti-religious pretty much, and she is clearly conservative in her religious beliefs. How did you stay a member of the Democratic Party this long? How have you been, how have you stayed with this party? That's what I would ask. I admit to not being a party line voter. I admit I'm not a single issue voter. But at the same time, there's a reason I don't identify with any of the political parties, and it's because I don't want to be seen as a part of them because I don't agree with all their stances, and I don't agree with them enough to be any kind of card-carrying member. So how has she stayed there this long? I mean, is the Democrat, Republican scheme in, in Rowan County different than what I know nationally from the Democratic Party? Is the Democratic Party of Kentucky socially conservative, but government-wise and statecraft-wise liberal? That's an important question to ask here in regards to why is this woman, who for all intents and purposes, I think they were calling her a Republican or a conservative extremist long before anyone knew her political affiliation, which is she's a Democrat. Furthermore, she's Protestant. Now, that really doesn't have any bearing except in the fact that as a Catholic, I don't see why I should, bring all guns to bear for this woman when she probably hates my religion. And I would ask every Catholic to consider that, fully. She's not one of us. She's not a Catholic, and we are too small right now to be getting into other people's business. We have too many problems of our own, all right? The Catholic Church is absolutely a wreck right now. It is, for all operating purposes, dead, and we need a lot of reform before we can get back to where we need to be. Reason number two, I think she's a provocateur. The couple that originally went to go speak to her was from Ohio. Okay? They went, to Kentucky. They're from Ohio. I've been to Ohio. I don't know where in Ohio these people were from specifically, but I do know where Rowan County is. Rowan County is, if you look on this map, it's right there. It's in that part of Kentucky. Now you're saying, oh, that's pretty close to Ohio, because you see a map right here, the very square, short state right there, that's Ohio. So you're saying, oh, that's not that far. Except here's the thing. I have driven through that part of Kentucky to get to Ohio. I've been down up the interstate, going towards Cincinnati through Louisville. And just to get from Louisville to, north of Cincinnati, that's a good 2, 3, 4-hour drive. That is a long, long drive through a whole lot of nothing to get where you want to be. And my question is, if gay marriage is legal nationwide, why did this Ohio couple go to Rowan County to be married by this woman? It doesn't make any sense. Was there not, did it somehow work out for this woman that, did it somehow work out for this woman, I mean, for this married couple, that the clerk's office in Rowan County was closer to any one they could have used where they lived. I just somehow doubt, I just doubt, um, I just doubt that, these people, I just doubt that these people, you know, I severely doubt that it would make sense for them to just go to Kentucky to get married when they can go to Ohio. And Ohio is not a conservative state, but they're certainly more liberal than they're not really Democrat, but they're more liberal than conservative. And I just don't understand, why exactly. Um, I don't understand exactly why. I just don't understand exactly why these people would go to where she works to get married. And here's the other thing: the press went with them the first time they went. According to what I've been able to gather, this is the first time these people have ever been in her office, and they went there to get married there, and to get their marriage license, and the media went in with them the first time. This is not the first time this is not like the second time they've been denied. They didn't call ahead as far as I know. I've been reading as I was trying to talk, the case statements and things, and I don't see anything about that. I don't understand quite exactly why they would do this and bring the media. Like, doesn't that seem fishy to you? Doesn't that seem odd? And when they go into her office and she starts saying she's not issuing anything because of paperwork delays, you know, she then goes on to say that the reason she's not doing it is because, she has God's authority. And I don't understand how you can just flip-flop from saying, "Oh, we're not doing it because of some paperwork delays," to, or we're waiting for appeals to go through, which is, to be fair, something of a legitimate, answer to give if you're being honest, that, like, look, we're just waiting for paperwork. We cannot actually legally do anything without the paperwork. I can understand that. That makes sense. And then, of course, there's, she just switches over suddenly to under God's authority. And I don't have a hard time believing women like her exist because I grew up with many of them, in my family and in other people's families. But look at this woman. She looks like a Stephen King antagonist. And she talks like one, like just the way she said, under God's authority. Like, under God's authority. Like, how she said it all sinister-like. Like, come on. Who is fooled by that? Like, it just sounds so fake. Like, how do you just swap the heck over from Circuit Court of Appeals to God has condemned thee? Like, how do you just... It smacks of amateurishness. It smacks of someone who's not been doing this job for 26-something years, if I read the thing right. It smacks of someone who just is going off of a script and flubbing their lines. Like, I'm not saying the whole thing was staged. Again, maybe there's more to it than that. Maybe it's a lot more complicated than that. Because, if whoever set this up is a professional, they wouldn't do something, I don't think anybody would do something this gutsy, and it would get this far if they didn't cover their tracks well, if they didn't set it up well. So you're dealing with somebody who is among the political elite, who know how to play this game and know what they're doing. And it just looked so wrong. Like, it was too perfect. They say if something looks too perfect, it probably is. That's what I'm calling this Kim Davis thing. It's too perfect. And the final reason is, look at the Republican response. Like, this woman's a Democrat, and Mike Huckabee and all these Democratic figures, Fox News, everybody is jumping on this woman to her defense. I mean, I understand why they would, but at the same time, it sounds like the Democrats have given the Republicans a rope with which to hang themselves, and they did it. They've just hung themselves. No one can say anymore the Republicans are not bigoted to the point of wanting to interfere with government affairs to subvert the law. No one can say that, because guess what? They just did it. So any pretext that these people, just wanted to protect their own religious beliefs is gone, because this woman interfered with matters of state, with matters of local governance, for the sake of her own religious beliefs, which you can't do from a government position. You do your job, or you get another job. at least maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe the U.S. works different than that. But I just think that if you're an official of the state and you don't do your job, you should lose that job. And it should be given to someone who can do that job and who will do that job. You are replaceable. You are expendable. This is a country of what, 3 billion people, a billion people at least, something like that, something, a larger number than it's not a small number. How many people could you really find who could do this job? I mean, come on, there's got to be somebody. And if there's not, well, okay, then there's not. I simply don't see how any of this, it's just too perfect. The militias saying they're going to violently protect her, TFP? TFP, what are you? I know you guys have been getting too cozy with the Republicans and the Tea Partiers for a while, but what are you doing? Like, why are you there? And why do you have the most stereotypical bunch of rednecks I've ever seen at this rally with you? This is not the sort of crowd y'all usually attract. I mean, you'll get the mainstream conservatives occasionally, but generally it's a more highbrow sort of people. I just don't understand how this makes any sense at all. And lastly, what was with that short jail stay? She got bailed out or something immediately. She wasn't there 2-3 days, and she's just out. She's just gone. And then this court case was open and shut. There was, in my opinion, there was no reason even to take this to court. It's open and shut. Okay, it's a done deal. It's a closed case. According to according to United States law, this woman has no defense. Not a single defense lawyer in their right mind would take this case. You'd have to get a real grade A idiot or somebody who doesn't want to do it, an attorney supplied for you who's just doing his job, just going through the motions. Nobody in their right mind who wants a legal career would take this case. Nobody wants this case, at least for the defense side. Nobody wants it. And it's just mind-boggling how quickly this was over. And now she's back at her job. She is back at her job, and she's just done the same thing, which is why I made this video. I saw this, and I'm like, this is official. This is a setup. This is an absolute complete setup. This woman is a media magnet, a provocateur that can be paraded around and shown for what their conservatives are. Now, let's say she is a provocateur. Why do I care if I don't like Republicans? Because this is dishonest. If this is the case, this is bull. This is corrupting the political system. This is tainting the well. This is lying. And if you're just going to lie and, bribe your way into power, then what is the point of even having a pretext to democracy? Let's just have an Alexandrian meritocracy where, the power goes to the strongest. Let's just have that. Why not? If you're just going to do this nonsense, if the democratic process, the Republican process, can just be subverted by whoever has more money and who can make the most threats, just go full barbarian age. Let's just fight for who gets power in this country. That's at least more honest and a little more virtuous than money under the table and back padding and back scratching to get by. That's a little more honest. And I mean, so this woman gets in on the Democratic ticket too. Voter fraud is a thing in this country. It is a massive, rampant problem. It's been a problem in almost every modern election that we've ever had. I mean, who's to say this wasn't rigged ahead of time? But supposedly, this woman has only held her office since 2015, and she had a religious awakening in 2011. So she's been this way for a while. Maybe people pulled strings behind the scenes to get her where she is now. Maybe she's only there because somebody wants her there and they knew she would do something like this eventually. She just didn't do it quite when they wanted her to do it. So they rushed things along and framed her. Now, maybe I'm totally off base. Maybe I'm wrong. But I feel like this is a theory that's a little too important to just keep to myself at this point, because I'm just seeing too many inconsistencies. I'm seeing too many things that are just too perfect. I'm not going to join the Republicans in their usual tactic of marching themselves and their party off a cliff with boneheaded political decisions. I mean, if they want a conservative America and they want to win, they're doing it all wrong. Democrats are doing everything right to win in a democratic system. I'm not looking at this from a who's right perspective. I'm looking at this because I don't have a stake in either side. I'm looking at this from a who's employing winning strategies, who's making the winning moves. That's what I'm looking at this from. Nothing else. So that's pretty much just it. My theory is that Kim Davis is a planted provocateur designed to bolster the Democratic Party's power in, among the populace, among, the plebeians, I guess. You know, that's what this is. I don't think it's anything more than that. I don't think it's anything less. That's what it is every time these cases that should be just local law matters or state law matters end up in the national news. That's what it is every single time. I mean, however tragic you think Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown were, they were not something that should have been national news. It's a local matter of law. It's a local matter that should be handled without a massive media circus. Without a massive media circus, that should be handled, and we should be able to trust our local governments to handle it. And if we can't, then we need to change our system, and we need to change the people who are in charge. And that's pretty much how I feel about this Kim Davis thing. I tell every Catholic the same thing. I tell every Christian the same thing. Don't take jobs that obstruct your faith, your beliefs about faith. You don't have to. And people will tell me about the Muslim stewardess who was exempted from serving alcoholic drinks because she's a Muslim. Well, that's fine. That's a private business. They can do that. That doesn't obstruct anyone's ability to get alcohol if they want it on the plane. There's a million other stewardesses who will serve you alcohol. Like, it does not obstruct in any way their ability to, get alcohol. It doesn't obstruct, in her rights in any way. It's a compromise that was reached by a company. It was a compromise between employer-employee. That's fair. It wasn't like, the company refused to serve alcohol based on religious preferences. And even then, they want to not serve alcohol, that's their business. There is no law that says you have to serve alcohol on a plane. So, big whoop. And, that's really how I feel about this. Don't take jobs that hurt your faith. I, have several times told employers, I've said I can't work Sundays. And they're like, why? Religious beliefs, I can't work Sunday. And I've gotten jobs, and they've been fine with that. Some Sundays I did work because honestly I wasn't going to church, and so I figured, because I have to drive 2 hours to get to Mass if I want it, and so I say to myself, well, I'm obviously not able to go to Mass, so I may as well work. There's no sense in being a bum. And on the Sundays I went to Mass, that I drive 2 hours to get there and stay a while and see to my spiritual needs and go back home. I don't go to work, and that's what I tell people. This is not a country, this is not a world that's going to cater to our religious beliefs. It's not going to do it. We don't own this planet. We don't own this country. We don't really own any significant slice of the geopolitical pie. And you know what? That's a reality that we're going to have to get used to. You don't like it? You don't enjoy this? I'm pretty sure nobody in Rome did either. But you know what? Rome's symbol went from the eagle to this. All right? Eventually, it went to that. All right? And it went that way because of time, patience, prayer, faith, and hard work and effort within the system to change it. It didn't happen because Christians ran for senator with wild reform plans, attacking the Roman government, attacking the Roman state. It didn't happen that way. You want Christendom to be back? Learn about how we got it the first time.